What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Wrangler Fishing. Today, I want to show you how I like to rig my coikes using a split ring and drop shot weights. So, I know some of you right now are like, what the heck, split ring, drop shot weights? It doesn't make sense. Well, I will make it make sense for you. So, the purpose of this is to do a line-through rigging for the Coike. If you know anything about line-throughs are the most are the most efficient way to rig your plastic so that it stays durable. And I love line-through rigs, especially on expensive plastics like this thing. This thing is like $17 or something like that. I forgot how much I paid, but for one bait, it's a lot of money. So I want to make sure that it's durable. I know a lot of guys they'll do various skin hooks on the koi case, but the more you skin hook it, even if it's elastomer. The more you skin hook it, the more it's going to damage the bait. So I like to try to keep it. I want to try to keep it literally for as long as I can before having to toss it or switch to a new koi case. So this is why I created this line through method. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie mono, and let's just say mono. You could use fluoro, but gosh, fluoro is just too expensive to do this method with. Braid doesn't work, and I'll explain why. I'll explain why later. But you want to take some mono. I'm just using some old 10-pound mono, and I'm gonna attach that to the split ring here. I'm just gonna use a polymer knot just because that's like the knot that I use for pretty much everything. So voila. So now I have gosh, it's wiggling really crazy. I have a split ring hanging off of a little piece of 10-pound mono. So some of you guys, I bet you, are already kind of figuring out where I'm going with this. So I'm going to take that 10-pound mono and I'm going to thread it. If you don't know, every Coike or Coike variant comes with this hole in the middle that goes through the bait. That's what keeps it suspending in the packaging so that the arms don't get all bendy and all weird shaped. So I'm gonna take that 10-pound mono and go right through that middle hole, and then boom. So now I have a Coike with the line sticking out the other end and a split ring sticking out this end. Oh gosh, there you go. So one thing I want to mention about the size of the size of the line. The size of the line doesn't matter. I mean, like I said, I'm just using whatever I have left over. But this is the 17 millimeter Coike. If you're gonna do this rigging with like the Yamamoto Uni or with the 13 millimeter, you might have to upsize your line because that middle hole is going to be a lot smaller and tighter. So you're gonna want a stiffer mono. So like I said, maybe somewhere between 15 to 17 or 20-pound line. I tried this with the Uni and I was able to get away with 15-pound line. And so because if you use this 10-pound mono and try to make that go through the Uni, it's just not gonna go. It's just not stiff enough. It's just gonna be bendy and windy. But the hole on the 17 is a lot bigger, so it's easier to use a lighter line. Anyways, so back to the rigging. So on the side that doesn't have the split ring, that's the split ring side. On the side that doesn't have the split ring, I'm gonna tie, surprise, an overhand knot. So you can let the overhand knot sit further down if you want to. If you let it sit further down, it'll be more like a slow suspending drop shot. If you put it closer to the Coike, it'll be a little bit less of that. So it really comes down to preference. I personally like to hop my Coike a bit, so I will put my overhand about an inch, maybe a little more or less away from the bottom of the Coike. So there's my overhand knot. Let's cut that tag in. And this is super simple, guys. I bet you guys have the tools to do this right now. So again, one side I have split ring on one side. On the other side, I have a little bit of line sticking out with the overhand knot. And surprise, we are going to put a drop shot weight onto it. So the drop shot weights, obviously I buy the ones that have the clips, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this overhand knot method. So, okay, I'm gonna feed that through. Oh gosh, I suck at this. So, feed that through, and then secure the drop shot. Oh gosh. Secure that drop shot against the overhand knot as much as possible. Boom. So, see right there. So now I have a coike that that has a weight hanging out from the bottom of it, and then there's a split ring on the other side. So some of you guys are wondering, okay, where do we go from here? Well, like I said before, this is primarily this is meant for a line-through method. So I'm gonna use a treble hook. This is like a size, I think this is like a size 6. You can use whatever you want. When I do line-through methods, I personally like treble hooks. You can use, if you want to make it weedless, you can use like a wacky hook with a weed guard, or a Nico hook with a weed guard, whatever you want. You want to throw a, like a 10-aught hook on this, that I'm not going to judge. But I like to line through with treble hooks, just because I personally like to up that hookup ratio. So pretend that this is a main line coming from a rod. I didn't want to tie this onto a rod right now because it's not really coike season. Right now it's more like moving bait season because we're still in early spring. But so pretend this is my main line, and pretend that I didn't put a hook on yet. What you would do is you would feed that main line through that split ring, and then on the other side of that, oh gosh, it's all tangled up. On the other side of that, you would tie the hook. And so see, that hook just sits right above that coike. You can totally fish it like this if you want. You can, like I said, I don't like to skin hook, but if you want it to stay in place and stay close to the coike, you can go ahead and skin hook it. That's still nothing compared to guys that are taking big old like 2-aught, 3-aught hooks and sticking it all the way through. But this is amazing. So this will give you the ability to fish the coike line-through. What I love about line-through, again, let me explain for those who don't know, is that when a fish bites down on the line, or bites down on the hook, and you set that hook, once that fish starts thrashing, he's going to pull that hook away from your bait. And so now the leverage is no longer on your bait. The leverage goes to your main, from your fishing rod to the hook, and the fish doesn't have as much leverage to spit out your hook because they don't have a big piece of plastic that's pushing on the hook and pushing it back. So this gives you maximum leverage when fighting a fish, and it's just durable to your plastic because your plastic just gets to just kind of freely move around while you're fighting the fish instead of being caught inside the fish's mouth. So the other cool thing about this rigging, I'm going to take this line off just so I don't hook myself. The other cool thing about this rigging method is that it's a drop shot weight. So for example, this is a 16th ounce drop shot weight. If I want to change my weight, I can easily do that. So like if I want to fish, if I'm fishing like 6 to 8 feet of water, I might use a 16th ounce because it'll slow sink, and generally fish will come up and get it. But if I want to really hop it on the bottom, or if I'm fishing in like 20 plus feet of water, then I can simply remove that 16th ounce weight, and I can put, like for example, this is a 1/4 ounce weight. I could put a 1/4 ounce weight on it. You could put a 3/16, you could switch it to a 1/2 ounce, whatever you need for whatever your preference is. But the coolest thing about this is that you don't have to keep on re-rigging the coike, you don't have to keep on breaking that skin, and you can keep on, you can manually adjust the weight without any issues. So now I have a coike that's going to sink a lot faster, and I can work on the bottom a lot easier. So like I said, this is my favorite method of doing it. I mean, not only is it durable, but it's also just super easily adjustable. If you're that worried about a drop shot weight coming off, because if the drop shot weight comes off, that Coike will unfortunately slide off of that line. If you're really that worried about it, you can just what you can do is you can just super glue the line closer to the split ring. That way, you have less of a chance of losing it, and you can just re-rig it if that weight happens to come off. But that is my way of rigging the Coike. I hope that it helps you guys catch more fish. I hope that it helps you guys prolong the usage of your Coikes. And I just hope that it helped you guys out. So if it helped you out, please give me a like and subscribe. And I don't post up too many videos like this, but if I come up with something unique, I'm happy to share that. So, all right, y'all. Peace out. Thanks for watching.